I wonder if someday we'll be able to look back and see what led to people in our country being so divided. I don't think our differences have always been this contentious. I grew up hearing that if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. But the recent us versus them mentality seems exceptionally common these days. And comments about others always come with an eye roll or a smirk of disgust, suggesting that somehow they are beneath us. Just fill in the blanks. Oh, they're obviously Republicans or Democrats. Oh, they're just millennials or old codgers. Oh, that's because they're black, Hispanic, or white. Or they're Baptists or Methodists. Oh, they just flaunt their money. Oh, they're cheap. They're not religious enough, or they're just Sunday morning hypocrites. Hi, thanks for tuning in today. I'm Debbie Lyons, pastor at First United Methodist Church, Winsboro, and I guess some people would put me in the hypocrite category because I do love being in a church community of imperfect people trying to be better people. But then I'm sure others would probably say I'm not religious or holy enough, so here we are talking about us and them in God's kingdom. And by the way, I am having this conversation, these musings, understanding perfectly that in an election season and in a presidential year, things are usually a little more us and them than normal. Usually, I think, when someone in the us category defines those in the them category negatively, there are, well, simply judging them. Lillian Daniel wrote about her very quirky caftan-wearing grandmother who insisted her grandchildren only call her Ms. Calhoun. Well, Ms. Calhoun did not get along with any of her neighbors, maybe because she would sit in her driveway with a cigarette hanging out of her mouth, a gin and tonic by her side, and shooting at squirrels in the neighbors' trees with her BB gun. Oh, and by the way, Ms. Calhoun had a large dog who often got out at night, and the neighbors relentlessly complained to her that her dog was knocking over their garbage cans and scattering their trash all over their streets. Ms. Calhoun was definitely not one of them. The day Miss Calhoun's dog died, the neighbors secretly celebrated, and for several days no one had to wake up to their garbage in the street. But the rejoicing didn't last long because soon the culprit, obviously not Miss Calhoun's dog, was back, and once again garbage was back on the street. Oh no! All their accusatory confrontations with their kooky neighbor, all the mean things they whispered to each other behind her back. They must have been wrong? Maybe it was a large raccoon, or maybe it was cats, or even someone else's dog. Although no one ever apologized to Ms. Calhoun, they were thankful for whatever reason that their garbage cans were tipped over much less often. And after all, they still didn't like her. And guess what? Ms. Calhoun didn't like them either. She didn't like how they judged her and criticized her for not being one of them. So she secretly took it upon herself to seek vindication for her dog by punishing her neighbors for their treatment of her. For quite a long time, after her dog had died, every few weeks, Ms. Calhoun would sneak out of her home in the middle of the night and quietly upend a few of her neighbors' trash cans. Until one night, she did get caught. Well, needless to say, Ms. Calhoun became even more of a villain than she had ever been, assuring that she would never, ever be accepted as one of them. Gosh, everything about this story is kind of sad, don't you think? The neighbors who isolated and scorned Miss Calhoun, the ones who gossiped about their kooky neighbor, they were wrong. The neighbor who avenged their behavior by more bad behavior of her own, she was wrong too. But have you noticed that people on both sides of any issue who do all the nitpicking and all the criticizing of others are the ones that usually have big, glaring faults of their own? No wonder Jesus said, "Don't judge so that you won't be judged. You'll receive the same judgment you give. Whatever you deal out will be dealt out to you." Why do you see the splinter that's in your brother's or sister's eye, but don't notice the log in your own eye? Powerful, powerful words. Should be no us and them in God's kingdom. Jesus, in fact, after a long day traveling the dusty roads, demonstrated this on the last night of his life, when before having dinner with his closest disciples, he humbled himself and did something that only the household servants did. Jesus washed their dirty feet. The disciples considered Jesus to be their master, their religious leader, their long-awaited Messiah, who would deliver Israel from its oppressors. He should not be on the floor washing their feet. What was going on here? But Jesus wanted them to see an example of how we should all treat one another, even those people with whom we don't agree or don't even like. And that night, Jesus washed Peter's feet, even knowing that Peter would publicly deny that he even knew Jesus that same night. And even more astoundingly, Jesus washed Judas Iscariot's feet, the one who would betray him for 30 pieces of silver. And then Jesus told them, "Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you should wash one another's feet." Foot washing required blinders in seeing who was us and who was them, because everyone's feet were dirty. Wouldn't it be a different world if we all had blinders on and we just looked at each other through God's eyes? Because let's face it, we all sin, and he loves us all anyway. Not long ago, in fact, during Super Bowl Sunday, an organization, a nonprofit Christian organization called He Gets Us, decided to produce a commercial for the Super Bowl exploring the us and them philosophy of Jesus himself, pointing out that even though we're all different, it doesn't mean we shouldn't look at each other with the same loving eyes and respect that Jesus did. The producers, in fact, wrote this: "We began to imagine a world where ideological others were willing to set their differences aside and wash one another's feet. How would that look? How would our contentious world change if we washed one another's feet? Not literally, but figuratively." Figurative foot washing can be as simple as giving a compliment to a coworker or paying for a stranger's lunch. It could also be as difficult as not responding to someone who's criticizing you or reaching out to an estranged family member. Acts of kindness done out of humility and respect for another person could be considered the equivalent of foot washing. The images in this commercial took my breath away, because honestly, Images of people washing each other's feet look a little disconcerting to us in our 21st century culture. I did show this video one night before Easter in our church this year, but it's worth repeating because there's something beautiful and profound in each image. It is people from both us and them walks of life. Two worlds colliding to serve one another in love and out of respect. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Don't ask me what you know is true. Don't have to tell you I love your person. I was standing, you were there. Two worlds collided, and they could never tear us apart. We could live 1,000 years.
So what did you think? In being fully transparent, I did slow this video down just a little bit so that you could see the images just a little longer. But please watch it again. I think you'll see how beautifully these images show the world as we all probably wish it could be, and that it can be if we, the us and them together, see each other through the eyes of Jesus Christ. This Thursday, May 13th, will be my last Thursday morning spring musings online, and I'll be thinking out loud next week about unity and uniformity and how they are so very different. Then we'll take 1 week off, but on Thursday, June 13th, we'll be in person again, restarting our breaking news and more at Backstage Coffee in downtown Winsboro on Thursday mornings. This is a politics-free zone where we just hang out and have casual, good conversations about what's going on in life. If you don't live in the Winsboro area, then please do join us on Sundays at 10:50. Of course, local people join in person, but you can join on Facebook also at about 11 o'clock. This Sunday, we'll be looking at the religious foundations and scriptures behind some of the most patriotic songs that are in our hymnal. Have a wonderful long weekend, everyone. Happy Memorial Day, and I hope to see you this week. Many blessings.